Thank you very much, Sean. It's interesting when you're in the audience in the festival hall, the room seems vast, but it is odd that when you're on stage, it feels oddly intimate. And I think that's to do with the quality of listening that we get on these T.S. Eliot nights. The listening quality is absolutely fantastic. Our next poet, Julia Copus, her book, The World's Two Smallest Humans, there's a line of hers that says, "Whatever is desired is grown toward." And it seems to me that that's what the poems do in this book. They kind of grow towards the reader. They're like those plants that lean towards the sun. They let you in. There are intimacies of utterance in here. It's like when you overhear people or you hear voices on the radio, and in an odd kind of way that's really hard to define, the poems seem to know what the reader wants from the poems and seems to be able to give them to the reader. There's great technical skill here. There's a great facility with the language. And the last poem in the book, the last lines of the book, it says, "By and by, with the push of the wash, I'll usher you in." And that's what Julia Copus's poems do. By and by, they usher you in. They lean towards you. They allow you in. Julia Copus.
Thank you. I don't think it's the done thing to say a lot of thank yous at these events, but I do want to make an exception for the lovely publicity officer at Faber. When she phoned me up to talk about this reading, she said, "I think the most daunting thing about it is that it's just you and that big stage." She's right. This is for the first two of my many brothers, Anthony and David. The Orange Rug. Impossible to picture a time without it there. Beneath the living room window, afloat in the shadows of our father's desk. Its flattened tassels were the rays of sun in a child's drawing. It was where we must gather, 3 breathless children, our coats on for school, or to show who was first to be ready for bed. And if we'd a score to settle, this was where we must do it. When was the last time we stood there, myself and my 2 fly brothers, in the days before their bodies hardened and wives and children hovered round them? It is late, perhaps, a splash of moon at the window. Outside, a row of curtained houses looks blindly away from 2 small boys and their sister, who have not even thought to arrange the order of their going. Nonetheless, there must be one who steps off ahead of the others, as if at some whisper from the wings, and does not think to look back. Tonight, in the small hours, I stand there again in the shadows that leaked from the oak dark desk. Only this time, I am stiller, keener. I'm poised, like Cassandra, listening out for those wily, soft-voiced exit cues, with both knees locked, my fists and eyes squeezed, clenched, so that nothing exists but brothers and me and the orange rug, round as a spotlight, round as a sun, and the hum of its solar wind unspent inside it. This poem refers to Jan Grzycki, who was a Polish railway worker. And in 1988, he fell in front of a train and into a coma. And then in 2007, he woke up to discover that the Iron Curtain had fallen, and also that he'd gained 11 grandchildren while he was out of action. So I used this story as a central metaphor in the poem. This silence between us. This silence that lies between us like a body that long ago gave up responding to pain, still less to light, which is pain's opposite, that cannot hear and cannot be awakened, that is, in fact, incontinent and catatonic, but nonetheless demands to be sat beside and talked to, prayed for, cried over, whose limbs and torso must be gently sponged, forehead smoothed, even in the dead of night, especially in the dead of night. This silence, how long do you suppose it can continue? Miracles happen today, and not for the first time. I remember the story of Jan Grzycki, who woke one summer after 19 years. But it's his wife I picture, crossing the hallway for nearly 2 decades, the slap of her feet along the narrow passageway, the slop of water in a plastic bowl, till the morning when, half asleep, she recalls she's left the shutters open and the window lifted where a thin net curtain shivers in dusty sunlight as slowly the bedstead, the bulk of the body, zigzag into place in the frame of the doorway. Sunlight, body, counterpane, all of it's just as it should be, but, dear God, his eyes, like 2 bright fish aswim in the propped-up head. There are those who say that miracles are born of faith, that trust alone might make you turn and talk again. I lie down next to my body, so close I think I smell its sour breath. Still here, I whisper, but it does not stir. Then, gently, with a fingertip, I lift one leathery eyelid where the soul is crouched and speak to it directly, not a flicker. But it does not faze me. It is only a matter of time before one of us wakes. It seems to be the coughing part of the evening, so feel free to. That's good. There is a heron sanctuary near where I live in Somerset, so I see lots of heron, and they're these very prehistoric-looking creatures, I think, and I can't help thinking about the process of evolution when I look at them. What is it that made the heron's bill grow to its impressive length? And the answer, of course, is desire for the fish and so on that it sees out of the corner of its eye. And desire, of course, is an impulse we're not unfamiliar with ourselves. Heron kind. Whatever is desired is grown toward. A glimmer of fish at the margins of rivers and streams or in marshes triggers a longing, a muted, persistent itch in the newborn heron which she feels at the base of her fledgling bill, a sense that will persist until the optimal fish-spearing length is reached. From this point to eternity, Her dreams are crammed with fish, or the nervy, darting shadows of fish. How much less complex life would be without this feverish dance between the wanter and the wanted, though the truth of it is that without fish, all heron kind would be stunted. There have been a number of wonderful and very moving poems written about the subject of parenthood. But I was interested in exploring the idea of imagined or longed for parenthood, and in particular the journey through that landscape that a couple embarks upon when they sign up for IVF treatment. So I'm going to finish with a poem from a sequence about that journey called Ghost. And it's set in a noisy pub as the couple's embryos are fertilizing in petri dishes 50 or so miles away from where they're sitting. And I'll finish with this. Thank you very much. At the Farmer's Inn. Her lover lifts a pilsner to his lips, swallows it back till the order arrives, and they move like marionettes, eat without talking, deviled kidneys, sea bass, creme brulee. The waitresses angle their hips between tables and carry the plates in the air, straight-limbed as matadors. Meanwhile, the men at the bar, afloat on their bar stools, are baying like seals. A forest of backs occludes both the girl and her tongue-tied lover. Out of the window, behind his head, night falls between the slats of the trestle tables, over the scotch grass and the sheep bunched in the corner of a field. The hubbub thickens the air like moth wings. It beats at the sides of her skull. Meal over, the day's a done deal, the dawn and the dusk, the seed, the eggs they harvested at noon with a consummate needle, drawing them off like tiny, luminous pearls from the sea of her body. Now they drink to the dregs of their coffee, call for the bill, link hands above the petit four, while 50 miles from here, along the unfurled ribbon of the street, the lamplit miles of motorway, in a clinic, a darkened room, like mushrooms, very whitely, discreetly, the longed-for lives begin. Thank you.